except I'm not assuming there's a God, but I think you talked about discovering morals like we discovered physical laws. So I'm wondering, I think it's plausible that there could be naturalistic moral laws like there are naturalistic, possibly physical laws. So I was wondering if you could elaborate on how objective morality necessarily leads to a God, specifically the Christian God.
Well, it doesn't lead to a Christian God. There's nothing that I've said here tonight that wouldn't be agreed to by a Muslim or a Jew. I've simply argued for a kind of theism, but not for Christian theism. And I can't see how, on naturalism, for the reasons I gave, you're going to be able to generate things like moral obligations and prohibitions. How on naturalism could there be a prohibition to engage in a certain act? I mean, there's no one to forbid it. Or how can you have an obligation to do something on naturalism when there's no one to command it? So the idea that there could be moral obligation and prohibition on naturalism, which is the view that just the physical world is all there is, to me is just unintelligible. And similarly with regard to values, I don't see why Homo sapiens on naturalism would be intrinsically valuable, especially if you're a materialist and a determinist. It would seem to me that these are just relatively advanced primates, and that morality is just an illusion, that evolution and social conditioning is built into them. So I'm simply repeating, in a sense, what I said in my talk, but that would be the answer to the question that you asked. Hello?
Hey, okay, so thanks for being here, Dr. Craig. I've been pretty excited all week about this. So according to your definition of God, a maximally supreme relational being, and the answer to the youth pro objection that you gave,
Yes.
then it seems to me that God has to essentially be perfectly good, or morally good. If that is so, then it seems that it is irrational to thank God for the good things he does, because he couldn't have done otherwise. Us Christian folk do in fact thank God pretty regularly for the good things he does. It's actually commanded to us in the Bible to do so. However, if God couldn't have done otherwise, it is irrational, or God is not relational, or God isn't essentially perfectly good. So, thank you.
All right, very good question. I do not think that, in fact, we should praise God for doing his moral duties. I don't think that God has any moral duties. If moral duties flow or are constituted by God's commands, then since God doesn't issue commands